Hello, everyone. My name is Steve, and I have been a Star Wars fan since I was little. I grew up watching the original trilogy and was hooked from a young age. I still remember watching my stepfather's VHS copy of Return of the Jedi over and over. This led me to developing a love for the franchise, which endures to today. This picture is me dressed as a Sith assassin for Halloween from a few years ago. As I grew up, I began writing and also got into horror. One day, after watching Rogue One and a horror movie back to back, I thought what a Star Wars horror movie would be like. That is the idea for Project Blackwing, a Star Wars story. I wrote out the story over the course of a few days and even thought of who I would cast in it. Before we get into Project Blackwing, a Star Wars story, I will give a quick overview of Project Blackwing for those of you who did not read the Star Wars Legends, formerly the Extended Universe. The Blackwing virus was created by ancient Sith Lords through the use of the dark side of the Force with the intent of achieving immortality. The virus had the opposite effect. It kills its host before reanimating them into a mindless, lumbering zombie. It is passed through the saliva of the infected. Once reanimated, their strength and resilience to damage are increased, making them a menacing threat. Unlike other viruses, the Blackwing virus is sentient and can control its host to a certain degree. During the Galactic Civil War, the Empire began experimenting with the virus, leading to an outbreak on a Star Destroyer. The infected took over the ship and eventually came across a ship that Han Solo and Chewbacca were being held prisoner on. The virus had its hosts attack and board the other ship, leading to the crew and prisoners to become infected, with only Han, Chewie, and a small handful of Imperials left alive. The group attempts to flee, but several of them become infected. Han and Chewie successfully escape the outbreak, leaving the infected ships behind. Now that we have the backstory established, let's get into how I would adapt it into a film. Project Blackwing, a Star Wars story, will begin with a Rebel recon ship being set to track down a Star Destroyer that had fallen off of the Rebel Alliance's radar in the unknown regions. The ship's captain tells her second-in-command and crew the Alliance believes the Star Destroyer was en route to a secret Imperial lab and are under strict orders to find the destroyer and what it is doing in the unknown regions. They soon come across an Imperial distress call and hone in on its origin and find the missing Star Destroyer. The Rebel ship is caught in a tractor beam, which forces it to land in the destroyer's empty landing bay. The Rebel crew cautiously leaves their ship and begins searching the Star Destroyer for its crew. After finding the deck empty, they decide to head to the bridge, where they discover the commander of the Star Destroyer and several of his crew who had barricaded the bridge. The Imperial commander explains that their mission is classified, and he had not sent the distress call, nor had they forced the Rebel ship to dock. As the Rebel captain presses him for an answer, they hear a noise outside the bridge, which causes the Imperial commander to reveal that his ship was hijacked by his mutinous crew. The Rebel captain doesn't believe him and presses for the truth, and one of the Imperials reveals they had rendezvoused with a secret Imperial base when something came aboard. The Imperial commander was about to chastise his man when the barricade fails and the infected storm the bridge. The two crews are forced to join forces as they battle the infected and attempt to escape the ship on the Rebel ship. During their journey back to the Rebel ship, the Rebels learn the truth. The mutinous crew are zombies who were killed and reanimated by an Imperial biological weapon known as the Blackwing virus. The Imperial commander reveals the truth. The infected had signaled the Rebels to lure them to the ship and surmises that they allowed the Rebels to get to the bridge to flush the Imperials out. The Rebel captain is revolted by the revelation, and a few Imperials defect with their second-in-command, leading to a firefight between the two groups. The Rebels and defected Imperials retreat and start back to the landing bay. On the way, they shut off the tractor beam, but the Rebel second-in-command is bitten and opts to return to the bridge to pilot the Star Destroyer into a nearby star. The rest of the crew arrive in the landing bay, where they are attacked by the Imperial commander and a horde of infected. Several of the group fall in the ensuing battle, but the Rebels gain the upper hand, board their ship, and leave the Star Destroyer before it crashes into the star. The surviving Rebels return to the Rebel Alliance and report what they had found. The Alliance sends a battalion to the secret base, led by the Rebel captain and the Imperial second-in-command, who has now joined the Alliance to destroy it. The role of the Rebel captain would go to Rose Byrne. The Rebel captain is gentle but firm. She is fiercely protective of her men. a role that Rose Byrne will be able to nail. You only need to look at her performance in the Insidious franchise to understand why I believe this. Wes Bentley will be the menacing Imperial commander, ordered to retrieve a specimen infected with the Blackwing virus and bring it back to Imperial High Command. Wes Bentley fits the bill for a stereotypical Imperial officer, and he is more than capable of nailing the stern and cruel commander. Cheyenne Jackson is the rebel's second-in-command, the mirror to his captain. He is a reserved, battle-hardened man who leads the soldiers on board the ship. Jackson has the look down for a rebel leader and would do a great job in this role. Michelle Rodriguez would be the Imperial second-in-command, an authoritarian figure with a strong commitment to her men. Rodriguez would really shine in this role. She has the perfect demeanor for it, with her role in Resident Evil being the ideal basis for this. That is my idea for Project Blackwing, a Star Wars story. Are there any stories from Star Wars Legends you think could be adapted into a movie? Tell me in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.